Hi, welcome to the second video in the Halloween Sampler Roll class on slow stitching. In today's class, I'll give you the first of 5 prompts that we'll embellish our sampler roll with. Now in the first video, we created the basis for our roll using just batting and cotton fabric. You just tailor it to the size spool you want to use. And the first prompt is going to be using ribbon and fabric scraps and some sort of text. And I'll show you how. So here we have the sampler roll that we created from the first video, and now we're going to start with our prompts. So the first prompt today is to add text, and the text could either be numbers or letters that you're going to stitch onto your piece. Now you could stitch it onto a piece of fabric and then sew it down onto your roll, or you could sew directly onto the roll. It's totally up to you. I also included some scraps here of ribbon that I had that were kind of fall themed, some that could be used for this Halloween project. I have a little bit of lace, and then I have some beautiful orange buttons here that kind of reminded me of pumpkins, and a couple of little charms. And I think I'm going to incorporate those into this prompt as well. So, because I want to use text, I'm going to give some thought to what can be Halloween inspired. So that could be something as simple as trick or treat or boo, or maybe even the number 31. So here's my tab, which is just to signify the beginning of my sampler roll for me. So I think maybe I'll use one of those cute little buttons right there. But over here, I'm going to add the number 31, and I can either add it in this formation or up and down. I don't think it matters much the way I do it, so I think I'm just going to go right across, and here I am writing on my fabric with this Frixion pen. It's a ballpoint pen that's erasable, and it erases with heat, so if I take an iron and put it over that, it will come right off. The beauty of this is if I don't like my placement, I can just add that heat, remove it, and start again. I'm not worried about where my marks show through because I know I can remove them easily. So I'll start with my text here, my 31. And I'm going to start with this orange thread here that kind of signifies Halloween to me. And I'm going to start by just using the stem stitch. So I'll bring my needle up, and then I go down and I leave a little loop so I don't pull my thread all the way through, and I use my thumb to hold that in place so I have my little loop. And then I bring my needle up in between the first and the second place that I've pulled my needle. And I'll continue doing this all the way around, holding my thread so it makes a loop, and if I pull it too tight, I'll just pull it out, and then I can come in here and continue that stem stitch all the way around. I like this stitch because it helps me make nice curves, particularly for this 3. I just go down and I make sure that my thread, my loop, is always on the same side. So this is going to be away from the number. Come down here. And when I have a really tight curve, I make my little stitch even smaller. I want my needle to come up in between. And then from here, I'm going to just come out over here, and I'm going to start going back to that thread I've already stitched down. Again, keeping that loop to the outside of my number. And then I can continue all the way around, finishing that 3. If I don't get my needle in the exact spot, I'll just pull it up again. Pull it down. Make sure I have that loop going to the outside of my number. Bring my thread up through and ending my stitch. Now I'll move over here to the 1. I'll use that same stitch all the way down. I make a little stitch, I come up in between, and continue. Now I can make a little tail here on the bottom of the one, but I think I'm just going to leave it just like that. I'll tie it off on the back with a knot, and now I'll just take my iron, put it down, and it just removes the ink. So now I want to add a few more pieces, and I want to use the charms as well as these little ribbon scraps. I like to cover these areas where there are two pieces of fabric that join. So I'm going to take this orange. It also matches my thread. This is just a ribbon of leaves. I'll cut out one of these leaves. I think I'll attach it right here. Now some of it might overhang my sampler, but that's okay. I'll move this remaining thread. So I'll just stitch this down. So again, I take my orange thread and I'll stitch this down. I'll go right across the veining. I'm just going to do a straight stitch here. I like to go down the veining. Not only does it emphasize the veining, but it separates and makes it a little different from just stitching around the perimeter. And not every fabric swatch or ribbon is going to be conducive to it, but it's kind of a nice little variation to try. Again, I'll finish this off on the back. I'll just go up through the nearest stitch and knot it. So there my sampler roll is coming along. I want to add a couple more of these ribbons, and I'll figure out how I want to do this. So I'll take some time and design them, deciding which colors I want to incorporate in. And I really like the contrast with this lace, so I think I'll do that as well. Now I want to add my little button to my tab here, but I think it would be interesting if it had a little bit of a lace background. So I'll cut that, put that in, and attach that button, maybe right on the side there like that. And then I want to do something down here. This is beautifully textured ribbon, but it might be a little heavy for this project. So I think I'll just put this ribbon right around like that. I'll cut a piece to size, and I'll stitch these two things on. So there you have the first prompt from our Halloween sampler roll, using text, whether it be numbers or letters, to add to your roll, as well as adding some scraps of ribbon. So this was the second part and the first prompt in our Halloween sampler roll. I hope you try your hand at it and post your work online, and be sure to use the hashtag Halloween sampler roll, and I'll check out your progress. Thanks for joining me today, and tune in next time for part 3.